Welcome back, Troglodytes, to the Trogly's Guitar Show. Today we have an unusual Les Paul Custom from the year 2011. This is a Les Paul Custom Flame Top. And what makes this one extra special is it has a maple fretboard. Now, Gibson started doing maple fretboards on Les Pauls in the mid-70s. I'm sure there's probably a 74 or 75 out there that has it, but you really start to see these from around 76 through the very early 80s. Now, I don't have any definite answer of when they stopped doing it. I think the latest one I've seen was one that a fan sent into the show, and his, I believe, was an 86 or an 87. So many people don't even know that maple fretboard is an option for a Gibson guitar. But to be honest, it's one of my favorites. I'm definitely a Gibson guy through and through, but I do love maple fretboards, even though that's kind of Fender-esque. Now, when Gibson first started doing these maple fretboards, they did put lacquer over them, but for whatever reason, in the modern day, they do not. So this is a raw maple fretboard, so it feels kind of just like rosewood or ebony. It feels and plays just like a regular Gibson guitar. However, for me personally, I think I like the lacquered over feel. There's just something nice about a smooth, plasticky fretboard. It kind of sounds weird to describe it as that, but this is like the first modern day custom that I've had that has the maple fretboard that I've thoroughly enjoyed. I did have one other one called the Angel, but for some reason I just wasn't very happy with that guitar because I bought it as a husk. I just kind of threw some parts that I had on it, and I think I was just frustrated from the whole process of restoring it. But this guitar, I saw it get listed and I was like, that has a very distinctive modern look to it. This is not your grandpa's Les Paul. This isn't your dad's Les Paul. This is kind of like a modern day machine of some sort. It's got this beautiful two-piece flame maple top on it, and then pair that with the maple fretboard, and this just has a really nice look to it. Personally, I think this one maybe needs a Floyd Rose and the access heel to make it the complete modern metal machine. But if it had all that stuff, I probably wouldn't have bought it. I prefer the stop tail piece personally. That's just because I don't know how to set Floyds up, and I really don't know how to use them enough to justify having one. But this guitar is kind of special to me. I instantly bonded with it as soon as I opened the case. I think it has to do with everything that I just mentioned about just the looks of it. It looks so awesome. It's not traditional, but it has a very modern vibe to it. But the playability of this thing is amazing as well. It was just freshly set up with 10 gauge strings, and this really does do that whole modern metal thing. It does your jazzier stuff too. Maybe it's because I just got a new amp and this is the guitar that I chose to demo it with. But this guitar, it's beautiful. I love it. It has everything I want in a guitar. Now, in the 70s and 80s, you could find maple fretboarded customs, but you could really only find them in black and natural. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the black Les Paul customs with the maple fretboards. I just don't think they quite have the right look, but I do like the natural ones. It's a very one-toned guitar, but I think, honestly, wine red looks the best. And it's the flame top that I think that sets this apart, because you don't have just a regular finish here. You've kind of got some darkness and lightness in here. It's a beautiful kind of cherry color. But then this kind of white/golden fretboard really matches the binding. I think aesthetically this guitar is very pleasing. This guitar was built in 2011, so that is right on the verge of Gibson starting to use Richlight instead of ebony. So since this guitar comes from that era, it's a little less blasphemous to find a maple fretboard, since most people would prefer ebony anyways. The specs on this guitar, you have a two-piece flamed maple top with a very choice mahogany back. You've got a little bit of figuring to the wood here. Gorgeous wood grain. And it is a one-piece mahogany neck as well, again with awesome wood grain to it. You have a lightweight gold tailpiece with a Nashville-style bridge and 490R and 498T Gibson humbuckers. The tuners on this one are gold Grovers. So while maple fretboards are not traditional on Les Paul Customs, I think this one really works. And I do highly suggest trying one out because you never know, you might love these maple fretboards. Now personally for me, I've been dying to get my hands on like a 70s or 80s version that has the lacquered fretboard to it, but those things are so hard to find in all original and clean shape, and for a price I actually want to pay. So I was very impressed with this guitar. I instantly loved it, and judging by the comments on the new Amp Day video, I figured I might as well release this one sooner than later because everybody really liked the look of this guitar. Again, it's not traditional, but there's something about this guitar that just looks fantastic. So let's go ahead and hear how this beautiful guitar sounds. Now that we know how this guitar sounds, let's go ahead and look at its condition. Now this guitar is in pretty good shape, but it does have average wear and tear, and honestly this has been my go-to player lately. Whenever I want to just play guitar, I pick this one up. There's something so homely about this guitar. But you've got some light string change scratches on the face of the headstock here, but nothing too major on this one. Your truss rod works just fine. Honestly, it doesn't look like it's been used much. You still have the original nut on this, and the frets are in very good shape, just showing very minor wear. Hardly any at all, but there's a little bit. Now, since this is an unlacquered maple fretboard, if you have dirty fingers, you're gonna start showing some dirt on this. Since the maple fretboard is kind of like a white/yellow color, dirt and grime is gonna show much more quickly. You can kind of see that there's a little bit of a buildup right here, but I did my best to clean that off. So that's the only downside to the maple being unlacquered, but if you were to lacquer this, then it wouldn't feel like your regular Gibson guitar. Now let's talk about these inlays real quick. They are still your mother of pearl inlays. A lot of people wish they would put like black mother of pearl inlays in here, but at the same time, I've kind of grown to love this still pearl color in here. What I really like about this white color is it kind of reflects some of the red from this guitar, so they almost have a slightly red tint to them when you're playing this guitar. Face of the guitar, you've got some scratches and picking wear. However, for the most part, it's fairly clean. The flame really just blinds your eye to anything that could be a blemish on this guitar. However, you've got some fingerprints, scratches, some light nicks and dings. But for the most part, I would say the top is fairly clean for its age. The flame top does a great job at hiding any small blemish. Now you've got a little bit of wear to the gold on the pickup covers. It's a little hard to see, but it is there. And you can see there's a little area starting to wear on the gold for the lightweight tailpiece. Our serial number is CS105262, which makes it a 2011 custom shop model. You can also see you have your Gibson custom shop decal on the back of the neck. Now it looks like you have a little bit of edge wear, but nothing really too major to point out here. But no breaks, cracks, or repairs. It is a beautiful mahogany neck. I would say it's kind of a medium 60s neck profile. It's not quite what I would call a true like 59 shape, but it's getting there. It's definitely not super slim, but it's like almost the perfect neck profile for me. But just take a look at this wood grain on this neck. This guitar really has some choice woods on it. I wish the fretboard actually had some flame in it too, because that would just, I don't know, that might actually make it over the top, but this is just such a beautiful guitar. Back of the guitar, again, beautiful mahogany. You've got some figuring right here. That's always cool to see. But just some light impressions on the back. Again, this thing is not mint condition. You've got some minor buckle worming and just scratches from regular playing, but for the most part, we're in good shape here. Just some light impressions. Here's probably the biggest area of wear right here. The sides of the guitar do have some impressions as well. You can see you have the thin binding in the cutaway, but again, beautiful wood grain on here. Now on the side, that's where you can kind of see some deeper impressions. I'm not sure, it must have rubbed up against the original owner's pants. It had some rivets on it, but that's definitely probably the worst area of wear on this guitar, is just these impressions on the side of it. But if you can live with those little amounts of wear, you're going to be very happy with this guitar. Now we'll do a blacklight test. Since this guitar's not too old, it's not glowing a lot, but we can see that everything is looking good on the face of the guitar, and everything is glowing evenly here on the back as well. It's always fun to look at these modern day headstocks under blacklight because the binding is still so pure white that it kind of gives you an interesting glow. But here we can see the back of the neck also has an even glow to it, and there's no major wear off the finish on the neck. The sides are also glowing the way I would expect to see, which again isn't a lot, but hey, this thing hasn't seen too much sunlight in its day. And if it did, this cherry color would actually kind of wash out into an even lighter shade. This guitar still retains its original Gibson lift-in reissue case. These are really nice cases. The only thing I have against them is they're a little bit too pretty to want to gig with. Now the interior for this case is kind of a magenta color. I mean, these are such beautiful cases. They are reissues of the original lift-in cases from the 50s. These ones are much better than an original 50s one because you have the less accurate double neck rest going on. However, that's more protective than a single neck rest. You've also got some very nice plush material to protect your guitar. You also have the certificate of authenticity with this guitar inside the case. If I were a gigging musician, I think I would definitely be keeping this one as my main guitar. There's just something about it that feels right. If you think you might be interested in being the next owner of this Gibson Les Paul custom flame top with a maple fretboard, feel free to contact me on my Facebook page, facebook.com/Troglys, Troglys, and check out the links in the description. Thank you for watching, Troglodytes. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.